Hi everyone, Ann Wyatt here, Vice President of Client Success for HealthFitness. Welcome to the HealthFitness Podcast. In today's episode, we are talking about injury prevention, and we're talking about it in the sense that we want everyone to understand what a powerful opportunity is and not just a requirement. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Brad Hammer. Brad is Senior Director of Injury Prevention for HealthFitness. Brad's going to help us unpack how organizations can do this better, how they can prevent injuries before they occur, and really help them avoid common pitfalls that end up being very costly. So, Brad, welcome back. You are a repeat guest to the Health Fitness Podcast. I'm so happy you're here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and I really appreciate it.
So, listen, you've done this for years. Before you joined us, you were a clinician in the physical therapy setting, of course. Now you're supporting programs all across the country in such a variety of settings. You're doing manufacturing yards where they're building cars, shipyards, you're doing wind turbines. You name the setting, you're supporting our clients with that. So I want to know, I'm going to ask you a pretty easy question to start with, but what do you see as the biggest key to success for injury prevention programs?
If I could boil it down to one thing, it's relationships. It's as simple as
Yeah.
that. And the biggest differentiator, is really that the building piece. They're building those genuine relationships with employees. To maximize the impact that we have, our teams need to be seen as that trusted resource.
Right.
I think too often that it's treated as a compliance exercise, right? It's it's just a check the box type mentality. But the real impact seems to happen when organizations focus on building trust and really supporting the long-term health and safety of their employees.
Relationship building is so important. And I think that lends to making sure that when we're working with people, we're connecting it to their realities. So we're making sure they understand
Mm-hmm.
how that it's going to impact their body, their job, their team. We're making sure that they understand it's a culture of safety. It's a culture of injury prevention, making sure that they are pain-free, that they don't see disruptions. We're all able to impact that. And I think that's so important. So that's a great point you bring up.
Yeah, and in the same line there, and it's when the employees feel supported, right? They're not being told how to do their jobs. They're more likely to engage, to use the resources that are available, that are present for them, and it helps them stay safe, stay productive, um, really at all ages and the stages of their career, from hire to retire.
Ooh,
And
I like
serving
that.
that role, it can be challenging, right, for the safety team sometimes that are internal, right? They're stretched thin. Oftentimes, it can be hard for them to really properly advocate for some of the employees. And I found that a vendor or partner can best fill that role of that trusted resource.
So where do you see companies missing the mark? Because I know we come in many times, we're trying
hmm
to help a client understand how to get that program on their feet, how to really have an impact. So what are you seeing out there?
Yeah, and I think there's different issues at play depending on what client we're looking at. But I mean, I think in general, when we're looking at where companies are missing the mark, it's when they're all focused on the reactive, the responding to piece, the back end, not
Hmm.
prevention, not up front. I
Yeah.
mean, it's obvious there has to be resources present for when employees, do get hurt, when issues arise. But if that's the only time and only place the employees are supported, then they're really missing the mark there.
So the idea of trust that spans the entire employee journey, right? And you've talked a lot. You said it best, the hire to retire. I just love that. So I think when people start feeling policed and they don't feel it as just something that where we're taking care of you so that you're able to perform well at your job, that's where they're missing the mark too. So let's rewind to the very beginning, talk about how organizations can set people up for success from that moment of recruitment. Because I know you've taught me that it actually starts with recruitment when we think about injury prevention and not just day one of their job.
You're absolutely right. I mean, the recruitment practice 100% influences the risk, and hopefully it helps mitigate that risk, right?
Right.
Um, I mean, we work with a wide variety of clients depending on number of employees, the industry they're
Hmm.
in, the geography across the country.
Yep.
Some of those clients of ours hire a couple employees a month, some hire 100 a week. So really, it's just a vast, difference that we see on our different sites we're at. Um, and depending on the hiring practices that are present, our clients may cast a wide net for applicants, and they may be in a place where they can't turn applicants away, right? They're looking and doing all they can just to get bodies in place to support production. Um, and when that mentality is in place, right, and employees are hired out of the gate with sometimes minimal or no consideration, for their physical ability to complete the job tasks, and that's just addressed down the road, and hopefully it turns out good for the employee and for the client. But that really puts the company in a bad spot, right? They may hire an
Yeah.
employee who's not physically able to do the job and could get hurt, which is going to, again, drive injury rates up and is often going to lead to a bad retention as well. So not a great place to be in.
You made me think of a saying my dad always talked about: right tool, right job, right? So I
Yeah.
think the right skills as you go in and the right abilities makes a huge difference. Can you give some examples of how we're testing for employees to help make sure they're reducing injuries or making sure turnover is staying low at a site?
So, we put these tests in place. We help clients get to the right spot here to make sure employees they hire can really support and complete the physical demands of the job. We want to help the client understand, has the job been evaluated and have the physical demands been documented. This lets not only the employer know, but also the applicant, what's expected, what's required from a physicality standpoint. How much will the new hire have to lift, push, pull, carry, stand,
Mhm.
walk, all the above type things. So
Right.
again, having these clear guidelines, it allows the clients to establish and put into practice, a post-offer employment test, or POET, which is designed to limit the risk of injury. It's going to screen out applicants who can't complete the physical task. So there's lots of reasons here, but definitely, as you mentioned, like, recruitment's where this all starts, and it has to be in place for us to get our employees off on the right foot.
So we've talked about recruiting and prior to day one, but let's talk about those first 30, 60, 90 days. What's happening then? Talk to me a little bit about what needs to happen then.
I think we've all been there, right? We've all been a new hire at some point in our careers, and we've seen it, at our client sites. But a lot's happening. I mean, just to be frank here, I
Yeah.
mean, they're drinking out of a fire hose, right? So they're learning their new jobs, they're learning about their benefits, they're learning about maybe even a new
Yeah.
trade, they're learning how to do their job. So it could be all over the map, and
Yeah.
then we come in, right? But our point is to help them understand all the new stuff you're learning. How can we help you do that in the most safe way possible? We like to engage with employees week one, if not day one, and really help establish that foundation of education, of ergonomics, of prevention, and help the employees understand how they can complete their new job and new role in the safest manner possible.
I know, Brad, you've shared with me too, it's so important to not just tell them, but to show them. And I know you've engaged and used some great tools that make sure that we are being able to show them what this is what your body looks like. And if you make this adjustment, let me show you. And then you'll feel how much better that is for your body. So applying that education is so important. So what are the typical outcomes an organization can really expect?
I think if the right things are in place, right, it could be the recruitment piece, it could be the new hire onboarding process, but it shifts the culture, it sets the tone.
Yeah.
It helps them understand we care about you, we're going to invest in you, we're going to keep you
Yeah.
safe, and that all leads, I believe, to expecting decreased injury rates, increased retention. As a byproduct, you have increased productivity. Your employees are there healthy, doing the job, and then ultimately, which we're all looking for, is a decreased spend on musculoskeletal issues, direct and indirect costs there. So that's the ultimate outcome.
What have you seen when companies invest in movement coaching or that conditioning for new hires? What's worked well?
A couple examples come to mind, and but a good example of what's happening and what's positive out there is that we had a client really get serious about this. Right, we were able to demonstrate a few small wins for them, and then they were like, let's dive in and see what really happens here. So we moved beyond kind of that check the box mentality,
Right.
and we were able to engage with employees multiple times per week as they were new hires. It was a process we really dove in head first, and it was great that the results showed. From year one, from 2025 to where we are in 2026, the new hire injury rate dropped over 10%. So it was
Yeah,
great that
it's
the client
huge.
could see it, they bought into it, and then at the end we had the great outcome to show them too. So you're right, it was a great win for us there.
Yeah. So you've given a great view of recruitment, the first 30 to 90 days, but it doesn't stop there. So what happens on day 91 and beyond? What does ongoing support look like? Because I always see where we start to see some wins, then companies tend to back off. So how can we look at continuous support?
I mean, that's a great question, and it's the evolution, right? So we're moving from the new hire phase to how do you sustain? How do you keep your employees healthy and safe beyond
Mhm.
that first little bit there? So, um, it's an evolution as we keep identifying risks. Behaviors change, the job
Yeah.
changes, the risks change based on where they are in production. So it's a constant support process there, and hopefully it's all built on that foundation of education that's been supplied by us, by the client, to help build upon the right things that should be done to keep them safe. I mean, it's definitely not a one size fits all approach, right? It's not
Right.
it's not an ABC and it's done. It's hey, what are the unique things we see at this client site with this employee with this job? And so it really has to be individualized to make sure that we're supporting employees beyond that first 90 days.
So, Brad, even with strong prevention efforts, issues can still happen. So, what makes a difference when they do?
There has to be a culture in place that supports employees and they're being
Right.
able to be comfort in reporting, their concern, their injury, and so they can get the right level of support at the time they need it. In addition to culture, it really goes hand in hand, but we have to have staff for the right resources that are present and accessible. These employees, they're not going to want to walk a mile to medical to get support if they have a small concern. They want to have an easy, accessible resource. So that's a huge
Hmm.
part of it too, is that having resources that are accessible for the employees when issues do arise. It's a partnership, right? We're in place as a vendor, and that's what this role is all about. But it's partnering with our clients, their medical team, safety, and really working back and forth with our athletic trainers, the medical teams, the employee that has a concern to get them the right care at the right time. So making sure that they, are supported with the right treatment to get better as fast as they can.
Yeah. I think that is a great place for us to end. I know if I could summarize, organizations that I've seen do their best, we're really together building trust and support. And it's all about making sure it's consistent and proactive from hire to retire. So I love that phrase,
Yeah.
and it's really all about what we do. So Brad, thank you so much. But I do have to ask you a couple of questions with my quickie quiz because I want to see if things have
All
changed from our last time going around.
right.
So, all right, I know your favorite snack last time was all about granola and vanilla yogurt, right? I think. So, is that still your thing, or have you evolved over time here or changed?
You know, it's still there, but I think there's been evolution, right? So, this, and I have a couple little kids, and my youngest two kids will just devour fruit. So, there's
Ah,
always fresh cut apples and strawberries and blueberries around. So, I've been shifting a little more to the fruit side, but it's definitely a healthy snack for me to get
and
that's
I'm
accessible.
guessing you're not cutting that all up. I'm guessing that's Ashley, your wife, right?
It's maybe a little bit of partnership, but
Oh,
there's a lot of
okay.
Ashley's doing. Yeah.
All right. So when you were working out, you said it was really any sport your kids are into, and I'm sure that still goes. But is there anything else you're doing right now?
I'd say this still applies. We just finished up indoor soccer, baseball starting, and so there's a lot of jogging, there's some strength training, but it's whatever the kids are up to is where it makes the most sense for us to jump in at.
Understood. All right, my last question. What's your favorite recovery form right now? I know you were into running and foam rolling. What else? What's keeping you recovered, recharged?
Yeah, my daughter does dance and gymnastics, and I've found along with my 9-year-old son that we're both very inflexible, and so when she does her stretching, we jump in there with her. So we've added stretching to the routine as well, and we can fit that in.
Oh, I love to hear it. Well, that is great. That wraps up our time. Brad, thank you again to the audience. Thank you. I hope you learned a little bit of something about injury prevention and all the great things you can be considering. So thank you so much for joining the Health Fitness Podcast. And until next time, take care.
That's all. So you have me in.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found today's discussion both thought-provoking and enjoyable. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe and share this episode with your colleagues and friends. We'd really love for you to stay connected with us. Until next time, take care, stay active, and stay curious.